People should know. I've been offline on Kol Lashon since Wednesday because I thought there was something wrong with my phone. At the end, it was something wrong with the Kol Lashon base. And now it's back, and I'm sending them all the files so everybody will have eventually everything that was missing on Kol Lashon. Okay.
You are about to add a shear with the same daf number.
You have entered, wait, well, as soon as it...
You are now about to start recording the shear. When you are finished, please hang up.
Okay. And... Okay. All right, welcome everyone. Good evening as we welcome in Yitzi Fuchs, Baruch Reifei Chaylim, already at home. Last time he was in step down when he was learning with us, and now he's dressed, sitting comfortably in his living room. Hodul Hashem Kitov, Kili Elam Chastai. Bruce Eisenberg is here, working very hard on joining us during the week. I know it. Elio Yafi, where we have in mind his wife, Nechama Sarah Bas Miriam, Stephen Holtzman, Marshall Castle, Shelley Zeitlin, Mel Zachter, Dr. Guy, Shimon Klein, Menachem Yemansky, Yitzi Padua, Shalom Fogel, A.B. Spry, who we wish a royal mazel tov to on his grandson, Isser Zev, becoming engaged to Yoel Madab. It should be mazel tov for all of us. Jay Siegel joining us, Dr. Block, Irving Fishbaum, Mark Frankel, who I don't know where he is, if he's driving from Mars, Mo Kushner, Yitzi Muller, Nachman Chapler, Rabbi Kranz, Naftali Jablon, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, and Sandy Grunfeld has just joined us, just stepped in right on time. Here in the shul we have, and of course David Helfgott on Kol Lashon. We have here in the shul Berish Gesselman, Reb Blumenfeld, Gedalia Engel, Reb Kramer, Rich Leonard, Reb Halpert. It's wonderful to have you, and Ruvain Shannon and Saba. Michal has just joined us for our 28th Zoomer of the evening, and we are holding. The Gemara starts an interesting sugya about kinyonim. Now, you know, when karka, you have to make a kinyon of either kesef, shtar, or chazaka. Chazaka means to make some kind of an improvement, and you acquire it through chazaka. Now, here the Gemara says, again, and we're holding 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Nun Aleph Amud Beis, sponsored by A.B. Spry for the protection of the soldiers, and for Isser Zev ben Yuta by Shimon Klein, Lili Nishmas Asher Anshe ben Yehuda Gittel Bas Shimon Pinchas, and Irving Fishbaum for the schus of Isser ben Rezel. So the Gemara tells us, Amar Rabbi Lazar, HaMoicher Bayis L'Chaveiroi, if what? Yes, just checking if everybody's awake. Amar Rabbi Lazar, HaMoicher Bar L'Chaveiroi, if, let's say, Jay Siegel is sitting there, he finally showed us his face. Let's say Jay sells to AB a bar. Kevin Shemasu loy dilyai, as soon as Jay gives to AB the cover, kana. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. Hey Chidami, Iba Kaspa, if AB gave Jay cash, Liknei Bekaspa, he should acquire it with cash. Iba Chazaka, if he made an improvement on the pit, Liknei Bechazaka. Says the Gemara, La'ilam Bechazaka, a veteran, a buyer like AB knows that he has to make an improvement, and he made an improvement in the bar. However, the only way you acquire with improvement is if Jay tells AB, Lech Chazak Uknei, go and make a Chazaka. However, when he gives him the cover, Commander Amaloi le chazaka knei dami. That's as if he told him, go and make a chazaka. Now the Gemara teaches us this idea in two more different cases. If somebody sells a house, Jay sells a house to Abi, he's going up, he's up in the ante. Once Jay gives Abi the key, Kana, Abi acquires the house. So the Gemara says again, if he gave Jay money, Liknei bekaspa. Chazaka, if he made an improvement on the house, Liknei bechazaka. Says, well, Ailam bechazaka. Abi made an improvement, but Jay has to tell him, go and make a chazaka. But once he gives him the key, that's tantamount, Commander Amalei le chazaka knidami. And the Gemara teaches us this in one more case. If Jay sells the flock to his friend, he sells a flock of animals. Once he sells him the leader, now we're going to see what mashchuchis really means. It's from a lashon of moshach, that which leads and pulls the whole flock. Kana, Abi acquires the flock. So again, the Gemara says, if he made the Mashiach, now normally on livestock, you acquire livestock with Mashiach. That means that you either pull the animal towards you or you call it and it comes to you. So then Liknei b'Mashiach, then Abi should have acquired it with the act of Mashiach. And Iba Masira, this is another kinyan on livestock. That means that Abi hands over the leash or the reins to Jay hands over the reins to Abi. So then Liknei b'Masira says, Laila b'Mashiach. Abi made the classic kinyan of Mashiach, but Jay has to tell him, go and acquire it. If it came in the muscle like mashchuchas, once he gave him the mashchuchas, Commander Amalei like Mashiach knidami. Now the Gemara asks the $1 million question: my mashchuchas? What is mashchuchas? So hachatirgama karkashta. Here it's explained as the bell. The shepherd has a bell which he rings and causes the flock to follow. Rabbi Yaakov Amar Iza the Azal B'Reish Edra. That's the leader of the flock, the goat that walks at the head of the flock. Kididarish Hau Glila Alei Rav Chisda, as a certain Galil darshaned above Rav Chisda, Kad Rogiz Raya Al Ona. If the shepherd is angry at the flock, Ovid Lenagda Samusa, he makes the leader blind. And then the blind lead the blind, and the goats fall into pits and off cliffs. And similarly, of course, the mashal over here is that when the Rebbeinu Shalom is angry at Klal Yisrael, he makes their leaders not worthy people, and then when the leaders are not worthy, they lead them in the wrong way. Okay. Just getting underway over here on Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph on this beautiful evening. And by the way, Rabbi Isai, although it's a big simcha today, we finished Yevamis and started Ksuvas in the Mishnah Yomis. I will not be doing the Mishnah Yomis tonight, and although it hurts me not to finish Yevamis again and start Kesuvas, it is on YouTube, on Torah Anytime, on Kalaloshin, on the emails and everything. But we're having a chok tonight, chok, day 4 of Mishpatim. That will take place right after the daf. I know Marshall cleared his calendar and is ready and eager. There it is. Hey, good for you, Marshall. Marshall, you might want to broaden your library and also get the Oiz V'Hadar Hebrew edition, which is very, very nice. But
they translate it in English too?
No, that one doesn't have translation in English, but it's
Zohar is translated right into Hebrew in this one, so
yeah, but the translation of the Zohar in that one is much better, much clearer and better. It looks, Marshall, it looks like this. It's a really beautiful set. if anybody wants to buy Marshall a birthday present, they know what they could do. Dahlia, would you mind bringing me some water? What do you say?
Better than a hot dog.
Better than hot dogs. But of course, you could wrap it with hot dogs too.
I can eat while I learn, no problem.
Now, Kiseu Harishan, if here we have partners, no, bring me a bigger cup of this.
A Romanian hot dog.
Right.
Speak the language.
Now, Kiseu Harishan, here again, what we have over here is Marshall and Shelley are partners in a bar. Kiseu Harishan, Marshall covers it. Oba Hasheni Omotza Megula, Shelley sees it, finds it open, uncovered, V'loy Kiseu, and Shelley doesn't cover it. Now, Marshall is clueless. He doesn't know that it's here. Marshall covered it. Now, Shelley finds it uncovered, and he ignores it, V'loy Kiseu. So, Hasheni Chayiv, Shelley is Chayiv, because Shelley should have covered it. Now, another case. Kiseu Karai, Marshall covered it properly. V'nafal eseicha ishara chamar, and an axe or a donkey fell inside it. Umeis potter. He's exempt. And the Gemara will say, well, if he covered it, how did it fall inside? So the Gemara will say, shesliya misoicha. It got wormy, and it just imploded, so to speak. So he's an inus, and he's potter. Like Kiseu Karai, if he didn't cover it properly, v'nafal l'seicha shara chamar, and an axe or a donkey fell inside, or mace, and it died, chayim. Nafal lefanav mikel akriya. If somebody was inside the bar and he was banging, and the animal got startled from the banging and fell into the bar, chayim. Marshall is chayim. If the animal fell backward because it got startled, potter. We'll talk much more about this, thank you, in the Gemara. Thank you. Now remember, we darshan, it says, V'nafal shama shara chamar, and we darshan shar v'loy kalim, that you're not chayav for utensils. And that's this Mishnah is the source of that rule. Nafal eseicha shar v'kelev, if there falls into the bar an axe with its utensils, with its hardware, v'nishtabru, and the hardware breaks, chamar v'kelev, or the donkey and its equipment, v'niskaru, and it tears, chayiv ala behema, you're chayiv for the animal, or potter ala kalim, because bar is not chayiv for kalim. Nafal isaycha ishar cherish shaita v'katan chayiv. If it falls inside the bar, a shar that's a deaf mute, an imbecile, or a minor, chayiv. The idea is, if it's a healthy shar and it's in broad daylight, Marshall is not chayiv because the shar should have sidestepped it. But if it's a shar that's a deaf mute or an imbecile or a minor, then he's chayiv. Ben Abbas, Evedai Amma, but if it falls inside a boy or a girl, a servant or a maidservant, potter, because it says shar v'loy kalim, shar v'loy adam, chamar v'loy kalim. So you're not chayiv for the death of a human. So now if you remember, we said that in the case where Marshall and Shelley were partners, Marshall left the bar covered. Marshall got it right this time. He left the bar covered, and Shelley saw it uncovered, and he ignored it, and somebody hurt himself. Shelley is chayiv. So how long is Marshall off the hook? So now Shelley wants to know, what, Marshall is going to be now blameless forever? So the Gemara says, V'rishain at emas mifter, how long is Marshall off the hook? Amarav b'chtei sheyada, until he finds out about it. Until he finds out about it. V'shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, he didn't have to find out about it himself. He didn't have to actually pass by it. b'chtei sheyidi'u, until they tell him about it. Rabbi Yochanan says that when he is informed about it, we give him enough time until he could manufacture a cover. Rabbi Yochanan b'chtei sheyidi'u, enough time where he finds out about it, v'yisker peilim, and he could hire workers, v'yichreis harazim, to cut wood, v'yichasenu, and build a cover for the manhole. Truth of the matter is, this is only in this case where he didn't uncover it. But if he uncovered it himself, then the halacha is that he has to get somebody to watch it until he gets a cover to cover it. Now, Kiseu Kuroi, if he covers it properly, v'nafal l'seichai shar chamar, and it falls in an ox or a donkey, umeis potter. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. If he covered it properly, how did something fall in? Kevin the Kiseu Kuroi, that means it's a proper cover. Heichi nafal, how did the animal fall in? Rabbi Yitzchak Bava Kama Daf, there was worms. And it's not that it was noticeable on the outside, because if it's notable on the outside, then he would be a pshia for not fixing it. But it was wormy from within, so he couldn't know about it. So now the Gemara starts getting interesting. Let's say, and this is Marshall, you understand, so he always gets us into pickles, or sauerkraut, whatever you want. Okay. Here what the Gemara says is, the axe is not as heavy as the camel. So says the Gemara, what's the din? Ibayalu kiseu kisu sheyachal lamoid lifnei shvarim. Marshall covered it with a cover that could withstand oxen. But it can't stand before a camel. Now what happened over here is an interesting thing. What happened over here was v'asu gemalim, a camel came v'irua and weakened it. And then v'asu shvarim v'naflu, and then an axe came and fell in. What's the din? So the Gemara says, Amrei Hechi Dami, what's the case? If there are frequently camels there, so then he's negligent, because he should have known that camels would come and weaken it. And if camels don't come over there, and there's no camels around, then Anasu, he's an Inus. Says the Gemara, obviously it's talking about a mediocre case. Camels come occasionally, once in a while. Do we say came in the Asi and the Prokim? Since they come once in a while, Marshall should have anticipated this, and therefore they should have figured that a camel will come, weaken it, and then an axe will fall in. When he made the cover, no camels were around, and it's not a frequent occurrence. Anasu, we consider it an anus. So Tashma, it's interesting that nowhere in this sugya does the Gemara say that this is a case of tchilasa b'pshia v'seifa b'anis, because that's actually what Marshall was. Because if a camel would have fell in, Marshall would be chayav for the camel, because his cover was not good enough for the camel. So he's a tchilasa b'pshia v'seifa b'anis. But the Gemara words it differently. So the Gemara says Tashma. The Gemara tries to bring a raya from our Mishnah, because there is a redundancy in our Mishnah. Tashma. Kisokaroi. Marshall covers it properly. V'nafal l'seichai shara chamar umeis potter. So the Gemara asked the question that I asked earlier. Hechi dami. What does it mean he covered it properly? It was a cover that's good for oxen and good for camels. Then how did anything fall in? Elalav, it must be that it was Karoy Lishvarim. It was good enough for oxen, but not good enough for camels. V'loy Karoy Ligmalim. It wasn't good enough for camels. So the Gemara says, so then why would he be potter? If there are many camels around, am I potter? Why should he be potter? Because she should have known that the camel would come weaken it and then the ox would fall in. And if there's no camels around, of course he's potter. Pshita, einisu. Elalav, it must be the asyan leprokim, that he covered it enough for oxen, he didn't cover it enough for camels, and they only came once in a while. And the camels came and weakened it. And the Mishnah says that he's potter, Vikatani potter. Alma came in the Hashtaleka, since there's no camels around right now, Marshall is considered anasu. So the Gemara says, no, that's not pshat. The pshat is, if he covered it, it was fit for oxen and fit for camels. And the reason why it fell in, it's like we explained earlier, that it got wormy from the inside. It got wormy from the inside. So we don't have a proof for our case. Now the Gemara wants to bring a proof from the Sefer. Tajma, Lo kiseo karai, if Marshall didn't cover it properly, v'nafal l'seicha shayar chamar, and it falls in an ox or a donkey or mace, chayav. Now, we have to find how this is a chiddush. Hey chidami, ilay malay karai l'shvam malay karai l'gvalim, it wasn't a cover, he covered it with silver foil. Pshita, of course he's chayav. Tzricha l'meim the chayav, you need to say that he's chayav. Elalav, it must be our case. Karai l'shvarm, he covered it for shvarm. V'loy karai l'gmalim. Now, what's the case? Hey chidami, ideshchichei gmalim. If camels are around all the time, of course he's chayav. Pisheu. V'idaloy shchichei gmalim. And if there's no camels around, why should he be chayav? Anasu. It must be our case. Elalav da'asi and leprokim. They come once in a while. V'asu gmalim v'yiru. A camel came and weakened it. V'asu shvarm v'nafel. They had an ox fell in, and it says that he's chayiv, the ketani chayiv. Alma came into Asi and leprokim, since they come once in a while. Peisheo, Marshall is considered negligent. Dibayle lasu kedaite. Says no. Lailam karai l'shvarim v'loy karai l'gmalim. It's talking about where it was fit for ox and it wasn't fit for camels. Ushchiche gemalim, and there are camels around. Now, if there's camels around, we said that that's pshita. Or the kakashalach b'sheyahu. You're right. There's no chiddush in the sefer. It's just for symmetry. Idi nanasav reisha kiseo karai. Since it says in the reisha where you cover it properly, nanasav sefer nami like kiseo karai. If you didn't cover it properly. However, now we're going to learn an entirely different version of this discussion. Entirely different version. Ikidam, right? You know, I was remiss. I already wanted to do it when we were learning the Mishnah Yomi between Mincha and Ma'ariv. At least I remembered now. You know, it's interesting that I had heard that the great Rav Kreisworth, Zecher Tzadik Levracha Zchusa Yagan Aleinu, when he was in the hospital, and they had all kinds of monitors attached to him, when he davened Shemona Esrei in the hospital, the one that was near his bed said that when he said Rifa'enu, he mentioned 70 different names in Rifa'enu. This is in the hospital. And they said that from the heart monitor, they were able to see at certain names he had extra kavanah in by the heart monitor. Baruch Hashem, we're not in the hospital, but I have an uncle, Rabbi Gavriel Meza, who's 99 years old, and he's in the hospital now in Deer Park, Long Island, with pneumonia. And I spoke to my aunt earlier. That's my mother's older sister, and she asked me to learn for him. His name is Gavriel HaKayin Ben Bela Rivka. Gavriel HaKayin Ben Bela Rivka. He should have a refuah shalema in the schus of our learning. It's interesting that many of you have heard of his brother. His brother was Jackie Mason. Jackie Mason changed his name from Mesa to Mason, and anglicized his name. But that was his brother. But my uncle is a Yid, a Torah Yid, and Hashem should give him, in the schus of our learning, Refuah Shalema B'Seich Shachar Yisrael.
Did he come to the school one time?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay, I remember.
Yes, he did.
Him and Aaliyah, yeah.
Yes, he did.
He was a Moyle too?
No, that's another brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that one did the births for my brother.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, it's a big family, but my he's 99. He's Kanai Hara. Anyway, so now the Gemara is going to present this whole question with, I hate to use the word, but with a different spin, on it. So again, let's get to Shaila. It is all, as you would imagine, Marshall's fault. What happened over here is Marshall covered the bar with a cover that's strong enough for oxen, but it's not strong enough for a camel. Camel walked over it, weakened it, and then an ox went on it and fell in. And it's talking about a situation where camels only are around occasionally. And the question is Marshall going to be chai? So Ikad Amrei, some present this as follows. Chovadai lo yiboilan. That case is not a question. The cave in the Asi and the Prokim, once camels are around occasionally, Marshall should have anticipated it, right? Paishayahu, he's definitely negligent. The Baile Asuke Daite, and therefore, if it passes over and weakens and the axe falls in, Marshall is chayv, and you could see that he has guilt written all over his face. That we know. Ki ibaylan hachi. Ki ibaylan hachi udi ibaylan. Here's the shaila. Ki seo ki yirai sheyachal lamad b'fnei shvarm. He made it that it could withhold an axe. Ve'ena yachal lamad b'fnei gemalin. Ushchiche gemalin. And oxen are around, and camels are around. So if camels are around, then Marshall is a blistering posheya. A blistering posheya. I'm saying this in front of 29 Zoomers. A blistering posheya.
I know where I'm going.
But, at the end, the axe fell in because it got wormy from the inside. However, visliya misaychaymau, it got wormy from within. So this is a classic case of tchilasa b'pshiyah v'seifa b'ainis. He was a pesheya in the beginning because he didn't protect it from camels, and camels were all around. And they would have weakened it, and then the axe would have fell in. But at the end it was an einus, it got wormy from within. Now the Gemara, it's again interesting, the Gemara doesn't use the language of tchilasa b'pshiyah v'seifa b'ainis. The Gemara says, Mao, mi amrinon migu davi pesheya eitzel gemalim, since he's negligent because of the camels, have a pesheya nami linyan asla, we say therefore he's considered as if he's negligent even though at the end it became wormy. No, the bottom line is it fell because of an einus. And therefore Marshall says, I am not einus rachmana patre. I mean, he has that sign on his store in big letters in 70 languages. Einus rachmana patre. Says the Gemara, Tashma.
That wormy wood from Frankel.
Right. Yeah, of course. Bring Mark into it.
I'm always drawn into it.
Yeah, well, we're not going to go into the fact that we had an amazing shir last night, bereft of Mark Frankel.
Me too. I heard the whole thing. I was supporting Marshall because he was under the weather.
Yeah, that was a big problem. It was Marshallist. It was Marshallist and Frankelist. So anyway, so here again, the Gemara now is going to bring proof over here. Tajma. First, it brings proof from the Reisha. It says Kiseh Kuraya, if he covers it properly, and it falls inside an ox or a donkey or mace, potter. And the question is, well, if he covered it properly, then how did something fall inside? That it got wormy from within. So the question is, what's the chiddush? Of course, if it got wormy, Marshall is not going to be chayiv. If he made a proper cover that could withstand anything, do I need the Mishnah to tell me he's potter? Everybody knows that even though it's Marshall, Pshita the potter. What more could he have done? Elalav, it must be Karei L'Shvarm. He made it fit for oxen. V'loy Karei L'Gmalim. And it wasn't good for camels. And camels were around. But V'Sliya Mesaychai, it became wormy, and that's why the ox fell in. V'Ktani Potter, that means we don't say Migui. Alma Le'amrina Migu, Dave Pesheya Linyan Gemalim, because he was Pesheya for the donkeys. Alma Le'amrina, we don't say that Migu Dave Pesheya Linyan Gemalim, have a Pesheya Linyan Hasla. Says Gemara, no. Lo'ilam Karei L'Gmalim, Karei L'Shmar. It's talking about that it was fit for both. V'Sliya Mesaychai. And it got wormy from within. And that which you have a kasha ki asliya mesaychai ma'avid le'lam evid. Says the Gemara, if you have a pit and it's near the rabbim, maybe every week you have to go and check it. Maybe every week you have to go and step on it and see how it is. Says the Gemara, you should knock on it and see how it's doing. Kamash Malan, you don't have to do that. So it's no raya from the Reisha. Now the Gemara is going to try to bring a raya from the Sefer. Tajma, if Marshall doesn't cover it properly, and it falls in an ox or a donkey, or mace, chayiv. So, hey chidami, what's the chiddush? He doesn't cover it, he puts silver foil on it. Do we need to say that Marshall's chayiv? We weren't born yesterday. That's not why we have to come out, to Two Valley Stream to learn that. Elalav, it must be Karoi L'Shvarm, that he covered it enough for oxen, V'loi Karoi L'Gmalim, V'idish Miche Gmalim Peshehu. If there's camels around, then he's a Pesheya. If the camel fell in. V'idoloi Shriche Gmalim Anasu. Elalav, it must be the Shriche Gmalim, but that's not what happened. A camel didn't fall in, or a camel didn't weaken it and an ox fell in. That's not what happened. What happened is it got wormy from within. V'esliya Mesaychai. And it says Yechayev because we say Migu. Ktani Chayev, Al Mamrina Migu Davi Peshel in Yingmam. Since he was negligent because of the camel, Davi Peshel in Yinasla, we say that he's considered negligent even when it becomes wormy. So the Gemara says, Amrei Loi. Loilam Karai L'Shvarm V'loi Karai L'Gmalim. It was fit for oxen, it wasn't fit for camels, and camels are around. So Marshall was a Pesheya. Ushchiche Gemalim. V'asa Gemalim Veru, and a camel came and weakened it. V'asa Shvar Menofel. You say then that's Pashit. Because obviously he was Pesheya because there's a lot of camels around. Or the Kakashalach Pshita, Pesheyahu. The answer is it's only a symmetry because of the Reisha. I need an Asa Reisha, Kisar Karai, where you covered it properly to tell you that you don't have to check it and bang on it. Nasib Sefer Nami like so, even though there's no proof in it. So now the Gemara is going to bring a final proof. Tajma, Nafal Isaycha Shar Cherishait of a cotton. If there falls into your pit a shar that's a deaf, mute, an imbecile, a minor, Suma, if it was blind, or Mahalach Balayla, or a healthy shar walking in the night, Chayiv. But pikeach u'mahalach b'yom, but if it was intelligent and it was in the day, pater. So the Gemara says, but why should you be pater? Why don't we say, migu, that you were a pesheya if it was in the night, or if it was sick or blind, you should be pesheya for the healthy one too. V'amai neima midahave pesheya lin cheresh, a deaf mute, the blind, or in the night, havinami pesheya lin pikeach. Alav shmamino lo yamrina migu. We don't say that since you're a pesheya for one area, you're a pesheya for elsewhere. Shmamino, that is indeed an excellent proof. Rabbi say it was a long daf, but Baruch Hashem, we did it, and we were able to be freilich together with Yitzi back at home. Reb Halpert, it's wonderful to have you joining us, really is.
And I just...
One second. And we are going to get ready now to learn a chok